Hello everybody. Now before we get started reviewing Madam Web, I would like to say one special announcement. I have published a brand new website. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. If you go on over to www.lukenukemoviereviews.com, you will not only find my video reviews there, but also written reviews that you haven't seen yet. So for all of you asking, when is this movie review coming out? Will you be able to make a list of the top 10 best and worst movies of last year? Are there other things that you're interested in aside from movies? Well, you can find all that on my website and then some. The link will be in the description below for all of your viewing pleasures. All you have to do is go over to www.lukenukemoviereviews.com. That's www.lukenukemoviereviews.com. Alright, with that being done and over with, let's review this piece of crap. Sony. This has to be a prank, right? I mean, there's no way this is real. Because as I was sitting there in the movie theater watching this ever-loving abomination, I was thinking to myself, I have to be in some kind of practical joke. And some cameramen in the movie theater are gonna come in when the credits roll and go, "Surprise! You just got pranked, bro." So we had to let you sit through 117 minutes of BS to get there. Here's your free ticket without an expiration date. Now here's the actual film we're gonna show you. No, this is real. This is legitimate. This is the final product that they decided to produce. This is the movie that they spent $80 million on and 5 years of development hell to get here. Since they plumped out the turd of the wind that was Venom and the walking internet meme itself, Morbius, I have to be asking myself, is Sony screwing with me? I readily acknowledge that you're refusing to give up the Spider-Man license in the same way that Chris Stuckman is refusing to show a personality or a critical spine, but at least put some modicum of effort in your spin-offs. Regardless of the first Venom grossing millions of dollars at the box office, and how it did is a question best reserved for the human race, the overall projects, no matter which way you slice it, were embarrassing and shameful in nearly every conceivable measure, almost killing your chances of enlarging the Spider-Man universe. And for those of you who might think that Kraven the Hunter might tip the scales in favor of Sony, look up Art Markham and Matt Holloway's writing resume, then reevaluate. Now they're desperately scraping the bottom of the barrel to find any miscellaneous character that they can find. And much like a magnificent spider, Sony has used its bolus to trap a specific character from the Spider-Man mythology and sucked all of the juices out of it until all that's left is a lifeless, unfinished corpse. That lifeless, unfinished corpse is none other than Madam Web. And I don't think I speak for the majority saying this, but this is easily the front runner for worst movie of 2024. And we're not even 3 months in. It's so bad that it neighbors itself along the likes of Elektra, Catwoman, and The Spirit as one of the biggest superhero disasters pinned to the 21st century. Seriously, what were Sony thinking with this movie? Whose bright idea was it to greenlight this thing? To explain why this is the case, let's dive right into the screenplay made by the same artistic, intellectual minds who made such literary strokes of genius like Gods of Egypt, The Last Witch Hunter, Morbius, and Dracula Untold, which I thought was okay. There's this generic evil bad guy named Ezekiel Sims who gets his hands on an exotic species of spider containing rare healing mechanisms after betraying arachnologist Constance Webb. Ah, I see what you did there. She's an arachnologist and her last name is Webb. So clever. No, it's not. After suffering bullet wounds, she is then aided by an indigenous spider-worshipping tribe. Just work with me. Before dying of childbirth and conceiving our main protagonist, experienced paramedic Cassandra Webb. Flash forward to 2003 after an emergency response gone wrong and plunging headfirst into the East River, it turns out in her near-death experience that she has powers of looking into the future. Because reasons. Effectively making her Websterdamus, which as a matter of fact, I will be calling her that for the rest of this review because it has more creativity than Cassandra Webb. No, I don't care if it's from the comics. Still looking the same age as he was in 1972, except with an even worse wig and walks around barefoot for no reason whatsoever, Ezekiel receives premonitions in his mind that he'll eventually be defeated by 3 teenage spider women. Yeah, I couldn't believe someone wrote that either. And in order to prevent his own demise, he must discover the girls' whereabouts in New York and kill them. And who else to prevent this from happening than Webster Damas herself, using her powers to help save the girls' lives and to defeat the worst Spider-Man movie villain in the past 20 years. Now, if you think that the plot is about as calamitous as hamster balling off the Himalayas, you are actually understating it. When you get right down to it, everything about the screenplay screams first draft. It's like when the crew started filming the movie, they realized, oh my god, we completely forgot about all the ludicrous plot points and redundant story beats. But you know what? We'll just edit it on the fly. Everything will be okay. Madam Web tries valiantly to execute the Terminator Manhunt storyline, except the screenplay is so contrived and moronic that you couldn't even count the reasons on just one hand. For example, characters are told explicitly not to do one thing, yet decide to do the opposite, other than the fact that the plot needs them to be in trouble. The 3 girls are told by Webster Damas herself, hey, don't go anywhere. I'm gonna try and get something, but please do not go to a public place. Stay put at the campsite. If you do, Sims will know about your whereabouts. So stay put, don't go anywhere public. Then, because they're hungry, they decide to go to a diner that's yards away from their campsite. But not only that, the worst part about the whole scene is that when the girls tell each other, hey, let's not trust anybody, let's not talk to anybody except the person taking our order. Let's don our hoodies, let's grab our meals, and go. Exactly 3 minutes of this movie's runtime later, they go, you know, I know that Ezekiel Sims can track our whereabouts just by hearing a phone line from the diner, not to mention the fact that we're on the run from police officers, but you know what? Let's go talk to some boys.
I'm dead inside.
In addition, you would have subplots that are so pointless as to render them outright non-existent. There's this inane, useless subplot that involves Webster Damas for being wanted for kidnapping by the police, even though the police should have their priorities set on Ezekiel, who murdered police officers, as opposed to a woman who they accidentally mistook for a kidnapper. Then it makes you wonder yourself, what was even the point of even writing this into the script? Not to mention, despite her still being wanted, she still manages to purchase a ticket to fly to Peru to find answers about her and her mother. How is that even possible? How can she get away with this? You would also have a plot point in this movie that foreshadows an event that's going to happen down the road. For example, it involves saving another person's life. But when you're first introduced to them, once you wrap your brain around it, they make the tiniest of sense. After seeing the future clearly, Webster Damas tells the girls that Ezekiel Sims has a powerful venomous touch that can paralyze you with just one grab of his hand, or could even kill you if the dose is high enough. Even though how he got the powers and how they work is never really made clear. And Webster Damas, being the experienced paramedic that she is, says that the one way to save a person's life from a fatal mutated neurotoxin that spreads within seconds is CPR. Oh yeah, that'll work. It's like you have a patient who is dying of botulism and you are told that the only way to heal him is to give him a glass of water. Then again, this is also the same paramedic who tells the girls that while they're being chased by Ezekiel Sims in an ambulance car, the way to get him off of the car is by shocking the hood of the vehicle with a defibrillator, which isn't even possible. And you know what? I gotta ask at this point in the cinematic Spider-Man mythos, how much powers can a spider give you? Because back when comic books and movies were much more simpler, Peter Parker's powers were believably derived from the actual abilities of real-life spiders. Of course, climbing on walls and other surfaces, even using webs to capture their prey is obviously a given. But you would have the spider sense, which is based on their nervous system, where they detect the tiniest of vibrations from the ground into the air, and they would move out of the way whenever danger comes. And of course, Spider-Man's super strength, which comes from the idea of spiders being able to lift 10 to 100 times their body weight. See, this is why you watch Luke Nukem, because you will never find content that talks about animals and gives you a movie review in the same video. Now, you are given special healing properties, you can shoot laser webs, you can shoot projectiles, you can spread a deadly neurotoxin just by touching somebody, you can project yourself into different places, and you can foretell the future before they even happen. Even at the last minute, there is a character who conveniently, for the sake of the story, gets a different set of spider powers that are never explained and nobody acknowledges how they even did it. If the plot wasn't enough to convince you not to see this movie, how about this? Aside from Adam Scott, who's only there to serve as a cameo as Ben Parker, and Mike Epps, who's only in the movie for about 3 minutes of screen time, there is not a single performance in this movie that rises above the tier of below average. Dakota Johnson, you poor gal. It's bad enough that she had to endure the 50 Shades of Grey saga, but her performance is so bad that it's like she'd had to repeat community theater classes. And it's not like she's a one-trick pony of an actress or anything. She's been good in movies like The Peanut Butter Falcon and Black Mass with Johnny Depp, but as Webstradamus, it's like she discovered that the screenplay was a turd the size of the Andromeda Galaxy and decided to just wing it without a care in the world. The examples are too numerous to even explain how phoned in her acting is. From regurgitating a buffet full of terrible exposition, exclaiming to the girls that their lives are in danger, or from the very egregious instance in which she is delivering snarky remarks or quips to either the bad guy or a character on a television screen. I was absolutely shocked watching this that the director did not even consider doing a second take. Seriously, this is the kind of performance that make you look at her on screen and say to yourself, man, this woman should curb stomp and leave her agents for these cinematic crimes of humanity. And funnily enough, she did just that. Not the curb stomping part, but she did leave her agency just days after the trailer was released. So props to her. The other girls themselves aren't particularly good either, as their acting ranges from being vacuous to being extremely annoying. Not to mention that they don't really serve much to the story other than to be plot devices. But Tahar Rahim as Ezekiel Sims is the one who gives it the worst out of all of them. Not only could his delivery be any more lost and flat, but every time he pops up on screen, I swear to you all, he has some of the worst ADR I have ever seen in my life. In fact, I don't even think he was actually acting. I think he was lip-syncing his entire performance, and the director decided to have him record 85% of his lines, except every line of dialogue that he's supposed to say doesn't come out of his mouth, nor does it sync with what he's actually saying. It's pretty much like this.
Hello, my darling. I'm going to get cookies at the grocery store. Would you like chocolate chip or oatmeal raisin?
It doesn't help that his motivation and the stakes that are established that these girls are destined to kill him are utterly hilarious, and his strategies to eliminate them and Webstradamus just goes to show you how stupid he actually is. If he also has precognitive abilities, why doesn't he also predict the exact motives enacted by Webstradamus? There was a moment where all he has to do is just reach out and kill her. He has her in his sights. If his venomous clutch grabs her with one hand, it's done. It's over. Instead, he monologues and walks towards her without once being in danger of having a clue as to what she might do. And of course, he loses. Like, what did you think was gonna happen? But nothing could be more embarrassing about this movie than the dialogue. I'm not even convinced that this was written by a human. ChatGPT can write better dialogue than these script writers. I'm not even kidding about this. An artificial intelligence programmed by humans can create better dialogue than a professional screenwriter. I mean, who talks like this in any environment, in any movie? The worst examples are when characters have to explain exposition so heinous that it makes Electro's theme song from The Amazing Spider-Man 2 sound like T.S. Eliot. Rather than trimming and editing the exposition down in a way that feels very natural to the character, the writers instead create exposition that is either spoon-fed to the audience, or they just compile all the intentions and the information into one run-on sentence. Examples like, I agreed to provide security for you because I thought we were close to finding the spider. And the eternal knee slapper from the trailer, he was in the Amazon with my mom when she was researching for spiders right before she died. They managed to even butcher the iconic proverb from the Spider-Man canon into an even different and clunkier version. And to save you the urge from watching this movie, I'll just tell you right now, when you take on the responsibility, great power will come. I mean, I know the line might be overused, but would it just kill you to write a line that wasn't written by an elementary school dropout? And lo, those special effects. Good CGI hasn't been exactly a strong suit for the Spider-Man spin-offs like Venom and Morbius, but Madam Web just takes it up a notch. Not in a good way. Characters swinging, hopping, and floating around like a wacky waving inflatable arm flailing tube man, running towards the camera with all the compositing of a CW show, and projectiles that might have looked swell on a 5th generation video game. Even the very first scenes in Peru goes to show you how cheap these effects are. When Constance is showing her team the spider that she's been looking for this whole time, she's sharing such joy and excitement, she can't even believe what she just caught. Meanwhile, you're sitting in your chair going, yeah, I know, Constance, yeah, it looks pretty terrible. Believe me, the CGI for the spider is about as real as Sony's chances making a sequel out of this. Finally, the costumes. You would think that a movie that has an $80 million budget would possibly take advantage of its budget and resources to make very good looking costumes. No, they didn't. Instead, they look like costumes that you would find in the Halloween section at Target. Superhero costumes, which, by the way, are not worn in the entire movie in real time, only in premonitions and a tease for future sequels, which, let's be real here, are never gonna get made. And Ezekiel Sims' appearance, which looks less like a spider suit and more of an expensive GIMP outfit. There is no other adjective to describe how crap Madam Web is. It's simply a disaster that I'm willing to bet that the actors and everyone else a part of it probably knew that it was gonna suck. There is absolutely nothing salvageable about this movie whatsoever. And if you're gonna go out of your way to watch a movie that you know is gonna be bad, but you're gonna see just how bad it is, really think about this for a minute. Do you really want to see a movie that is the biggest waste of money since the NYPD robot project? Maybe second when we get to August. Do you want to subject your comic book friends to such torture that it should be considered such under the Geneva Accords? You know, there's better things than hate watching and harming your friend's senses, right? Like going fishing, reading a book, watching Dune 2 when it comes out in theaters, and watching more of my YouTube videos. Sony, if these are the kind of spin-offs you'll be making in the coming years, it's time to put it down while you still can and move on to something else. Because what else do you have next? Kraven the Hunter and Venom 3? Lord have mercy on your soul, Sony. My name is Luke Nukem. You, my friends, have been blown away.